my name is Allie Schmidt. This is my dad, Dan. He owns Caitlin's Glass.
Thanks, Allie. Things like doors and windows go into making a house. But when it's your home, you expect more, like the great service and selection you'll get from Caitlin's Glass. Vinyl replacement windows from Caitlin's come with a lifetime warranty, including accidental glass breakage replacement. Also ask for custom shower doors and many other products and services. Call 962-1636. Locally owned with local employees for nearly 30 years.
Caitlin's Glass, the clear choice.
I want to share something that's become a big part of the BeTempered mission, Patreon. Now, if you've never used it before, Patreon is a platform where we can build community together. It's not just about supporting the podcast. It's about having a space where we can connect on a deeper level, encourage one another, and walk this journey of faith, resilience, and perseverance side by side. Here's how it works. You can join as a free member and get access to daily posts, behind-the-scenes updates, encouragement, and some things I don't always put out on other platforms. And if you feel called to support the mission financially, there are different levels where you can do that too. That support helps us keep producing the podcast, creating gear, hosting events, and sharing stories that we believe can truly impact lives. And here's the cool part. Patreon has a free app you can download right on your phone. It works just like Facebook or Instagram, but it's built specifically for our community. You'll be able to scroll through posts, watch videos, listen to content, and interact with others who are on the same journey. At the end of the day, this isn't just about content, it's about connection. It's about building something together, not just me and Ben putting out episodes, but a family of people committed to growing stronger through real stories and real faith. So whether you just want to hop on as a free member or you feel called to support in a bigger way, Patreon is the door into that community. Because at the heart of BeTempered has always been simple, real stories, raw truth, resilient faith, so that even one person out there that hears what they need to hear, and Patreon helps make that possible.
Welcome to the BeTempered podcast, where we explore the art of finding balance in a chaotic world.
Join us as we delve into insightful conversations, practical tips, and inspiring stories to help you navigate life's ups and downs with grace and resilience.
We're your host, Dan Schmidt and
Ben Spahr.
Let's embark on a journey to live our best lives.
This is BeTempered.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the BeTempered podcast, episode number
75.
Good guess, Ben.
Thank you.
Good guess. We were just talking here earlier how uniquely things work out, you know, when you're not necessarily planning on a certain guest or an individual to come in and share their story, how sometimes things just happen. And that's today. The story today is one I knew part of, not in the depth that we're going to hear it and not in the depth that I heard last week. But it is a powerful story. I think it's one that a lot of people can relate to. And I'm excited for Chuck Winings to be with us here today on the BeTempered podcast. So welcome, Chuck.
Welcome, Chuck.
Thank you. So, Chuck, I don't know if we want to start. We want to start off with your story growing up, but I kind of would like to start off how things have transpired the last couple weeks, because I think that kind of sets everything up, and then we'll get into your story. So if you would maybe talk about a couple Fridays ago, kind of how that day transpired for you, and that'll lead to where we're at today.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you guys for having me. Incredible platform you guys have. 2 Fridays ago, I was in the morning. I was scrolling through Facebook, waiting on Emma to get up out of bed, and fell upon your brother's Facebook message that shared Sean's story of episode, challenge you to watch this episode 71. So I'm like, I'll give it a listen. If it's from Jeff, it's great. Mm-hmm. So I, turn it on my way to work and I listened to it. And, my tragedy and trauma kind of later in life, and his was much younger, so it really didn't correlate. But just the name of his book resonated with me, of turning pain into purpose. And I've struggled with trying to find a purpose. I think I told you last Friday, I feel like a dad driving a car with my 3 most prized possessions in the back seat, just trying not to wreck. Stay inside the lines, just steer them where I think they need to go. So yeah, it was just that, what is my purpose? And towards the end of the podcast, I was sitting in the parking lot of an account of mine, and I had a former employee of mine who still works for Frito-Lay, but doesn't work under me anymore. And he just sent me a text, can you call me? Are you working? Can you call me? So I finished the podcast, gave him a call, and he was struggling. And he just told me, I had nowhere else to turn. I just thought to call you. And we talked, and, he explained what was kind of going on. And I may not have helped him in his, mental state or whatever, but I helped him get time off of work. So I felt like I helped him. And it felt amazing. Like, it was great. Like, well, then maybe is this my purpose? Do I want to help people? So that day I watched multiple podcasts. I watched Matt Roberts's and your wife's, and I had seen your dad's before. So yeah, just, I got to the football game that Friday night and saw Ben like I do every home game, and I just thanked him. Like, it took a lot for me to, get that out, and thank you for what you guys are doing here. Like, it's amazing. Sean's story, maybe not so much the story, but just the title of the book, Purpose. And it's just so happened that you walked up on us, and I was able to had the opportunity to thank you. So, yeah, I felt really good. And those days don't come very often. And so yeah, it was a really good weekend. We did some things as a family, and my mom was in town. And you had reached out on Monday about possibly, sitting down, no pressure, just tell your story, let me see if I can help you. And maybe the podcast would be something that you could do. And yeah, let's continue on with that. So yeah, we met Friday, and we're here now.
Yeah. Well, and here's what I'll tell you. Chuck, I obviously being from the same community and watching your boys grow up and actually coaching Emra, I think a year or two in some YMCA basketball. I knew you, family, but didn't really know you.
Yeah.
And so when you came into the office on Friday, I didn't know what to expect. And for me, that's one of the things I'm trying to navigate through this whole process is, I want to get to know the person, especially if I don't really know them. But I don't want to be pushy. I don't, and Ben's the same way. Like, we don't want to come off to where, like, you've got an amazing story, you need to tell it.
Yeah.
I want it to be, this is kind of therapy, right? It's therapy for the person telling their story. But like I told you on Friday, this is also an opportunity for you to cement your legacy for future generations. Great grandkids, great grandkids are going to be able to go back maybe in a time of their struggle, something that they're dealing with. This will be out there forever, and they're going to be able to go back and hear about great grandpa, great grandma, hear that story, and cement that legacy. So, I think you were in office for 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. It was an amazing time to sit and to listen and to kind of watch your transformation and to see your shoulders kind of drop and relax. I think when everything was, when you got everything out, and I'm like, okay, like this is what it's all about. Yep. So I appreciate you. I appreciate you having the strength to come up and thank Ben and I at the football game, because quite honestly, we wouldn't be sitting here if you didn't do that. So thank you for doing that. So, all right, now starting from the beginning, because I think, we like to hear everybody's story growing up, because I think that paints a picture. So talk about what life was like for you growing up as a kid.
Yeah. Grew up in Lima, Ohio, which I've always had roots with Eaton. My grandparents were here. Matter of fact, how we got to Lima was my grandpa was transferred up to the Lima telephone company for 2 years. My mom met my dad, and then they moved back to Eaton in Eaton was always, come visit Grandma and Grandpa. But yeah, Lima, Ohio, I went to city schools, kindergarten through second grade, I think it was. And then we moved to an apartment complex in Bath Township, which is eventually where I graduated high school from, Bath High School. But yeah, third grade was there for like half the year. And then my grandparents retired and moved to Florida. Well, then, my mom's parents are down there, her sister's down there, her brother's down there. Let's try Florida. And growing up, my dad really never had, he just kind of changed jobs every once in a while, never really had a career is what I call it. He had jobs. My mom, to this day, what I know of her is working 2 jobs, like always worked. And it seemed like it was always with the elderly and helping. So yeah, I just think when you have jobs like that, you can just quit and pick up another job when you're down there. So we moved down there as a family. It lasted 9 months. I'm assuming, due to finances or not very safe. We lived in an apartment complex there one time, there as well. And I remember one day we were at the pool and I wanted to ride my bike back to get my baseball glove because we were all going to play baseball. And I unlocked the door and walked in. There's a gentleman there stealing our VCR.
Uh-oh.
So I ran back to the pool, didn't take my bike. I ran. I don't think my feet touched the floor. Just flying. Somebody broke into our house. So, of course, we run home. Yeah, somebody had ransacked the house. And come to find out when you get older, you think about it, and it was an apartment on the bottom, 2 on the bottom, 2 on top. We were the only ones living there. So it was an easy, possibly. But what I take from that is my dad made us feel safe when it was over. Like, I think we went and stayed with Grandma and Grandpa. He stayed at the house in case the robber came back, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I moved back in the apartment. We were fine. Felt safe. I always felt safe as a child. Great parents. Like I said, they worked maybe not the highest paying jobs on earth, but me and my 2 sisters never wanted for anything. Like, we got everything we wanted. It might not have been Nikes. Could have been Converse. But yeah, my mom, like I said, worked 2 jobs. My dad always worked and tried to do everything they could to get us what we needed. And I always felt like I was the biggest burden because I was the one playing baseball and basketball and football, and it's the cleats, it's the gloves. We all know that, right? As have kids now.
Yeah.
That is a financial burden.
Yeah.
Especially for parents that, don't make a ton of money. But yeah, so the Florida thing didn't work out. We moved back in with my dad's parents for a little while, and I was there for 4th grade. And then we moved out and moved into a place in Bath Township, back to Bath. So 5th grade, all the way through high school, I ended up graduating from Bath. So it finally felt like that was home to us, Bath. My sister still lives there, raised her kids there. And we often go back a lot. Some of my greatest friends are still from there. Great community. I got 5 or 6 buddies that we still text and talk about the glory days. Right? But yeah, great town. Loved it there. And as a matter of fact, Rhonda, who soon became my wife after high school and college and stuff, moved to Bath in 7th grade from Arkansas. So,
okay.
So she did the sports thing. I did the sports thing, and we kindly, it was April 16th, 1993. So it was the end of our freshman year. We had talked, went to parties together, and she finally circled yes on the note. Right? And said, hey, will you be my boyfriend? Yeah. So she finally circled yes on April 16th, 1993. So yeah, high school was great. I was not a great student. I didn't work hard at it. Matter of fact, my junior year in baseball, I was ineligible. But it didn't faze me. My parents didn't push me for good grades. I didn't try for good grades. It was just who I was. Trying to, get in trouble, just whatever. Well, then Rhonda went on to play softball at Bowling Green State University. And I'll just go there, college. So apply and get the letter back, said not accepted. No one with a 2.2 and a 16 on the ACT is going to go to Bowling Green.
Yeah.
All right, well, fine. I'll just go to Findlay. It's the closest thing to Bowling Green. I get that application back. Well, I need 3 recommendations from teachers. We need to, place and test. And I'm like, no, I'm out. So in Lima is an Ohio State branch, Ohio State Lima campus, and then it's now called Rhodes College, but it was Lima Technical College. So I'm like, okay, I'll just go there because that's what you were supposed to do. You're supposed to go to college, right? Well, at that time, my dad was working at a chain grocery store in Lima. It was called Clyde Evans, and I got a job there. And we played in how I got to Frito-Lay. We played in a golf league together. And when I was little, he played in it forever, and I'd caddied for him. I'd pull his, I'd go out there and get me a drink, and I'd pull his bag on the golf cart. And that's the one thing, like me and my dad were always together when it came to sports. Like he was never missed a game, helped coach, Mom would get there when she could, working 2 jobs. Sometimes it's difficult, but I could always count on Dad to be there. So go to college down the road.
Yeah.
Rhonda's in Bowling Green, and it happened to, we played, I went from caddy to partner. So then we played golf, every Monday, 5 o'clock, Monday. And then we played golf with 2 guys that worked at Frito-Lay. And I had seen the one guy because I was working at the grocery store as well, and I would see him, and that's kind of how he got in the league or whatever. And I asked him, I said, does Frito-Lay ever hire? He's like, yeah. Next time I saw him, hey, as a matter of fact, on Saturday, they're having an open house. So interview. I'll go to that. So went there, was interviewed by a lady who worked in the Dayton facility. And she's like, would you be interested in moving to Dayton? Because to be honest with you, they already have their guy here for Lima. They're only hiring 1, but we're also here if you'd want to go to the Dayton facility or the Westchester down in Cincinnati. I'm like, what do you say in an interview? Yeah. Heck yeah, count me in. Well, that turned into the next day, getting a call from them, kind of doing a more personal interview with Dayton, blah, 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 which then turned into, me finding an apartment in Vandalia, and that's kind of where it ended up.
And school was over.
Yeah, C's and D's. What are we paying for those for?
Right.
Like, see it. I had that conversation with Rhonda. It was, do I continue to go on to college, or she's like, no, go start a life for us. Go get a job. Like, this college thing ain't for you.
Yeah,
isn't for you. See, ain't. Yeah. But yeah, went to work for Frito-Lay and was just making money like crazy, right? You live on your own, get a little small apartment, go out and get the new truck, and then start banking money. Well, like I said, incredible growing up. My parents were always there, always, my dad was always there for me. Mom, did whatever she could to get me those Converse, right? And while living down there, I remember getting a phone call from my dad, and I could tell it was odd. And he told me that me and Mom were getting a divorce. What do you mean? It doesn't make any sense to me. And in hindsight, you just see things as you get older and you hear stories, and it was probably warranted. They just kind of, won't get into that, but they just went separate. And I remember telling my dad on the phone, I'm like, no, try, do everything you can to make this work. Don't quit. A week later, he's moving out. He told me he would. He's like, Chuck, I'll do whatever I can. And then a week later, he's moving out, and they moved to the divorce thing. And I held that against my dad forever. You lied to me. You quit. You didn't do everything you could for us. It's the first time I ever felt let down from him. Rhonda gets out of college. We go on to get married. We have Theo. We're living had enough money to buy a house in Inglewood. And then Rhonda was kind of working as a waitress at a sports bar there in Eaton or in Inglewood, and then substitute teaching and stuff, and just trying to find a teaching job. And I had a cousin who lived in Eaton had called me and said, "Hey, I know what Rhonda's education major is. Is there any chance she's a history teacher?" Yeah, Eaton's hiring 3. So she interviews, gets the job very quick. So, all right, finally got it's 2 full incomes. Theo's 1 or 2. It's great. She becomes the varsity softball coach there. She was JV for 1 year, became varsity softball coach, and then that a little bit of a strain. Like, I go to work, I pick up Theo from the babysitter, and it's just me and him all night. Practice, games. And
can I stop you for a second?
Yeah.
Because I want to talk about, you glanced over a couple of things with Rhonda, but something that struck me, that you remember the date that she circled yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
On the piece of paper, will you be my boyfriend?
Yeah.
So can you back up a little bit to that? Why do you remember that? And then talk about how your relationship developed from high school, then going to college, and then you go to Dayton. She's still in college, right? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. As you get older, and now that I've lost her, those dates are huge to me. April 16th, 1993, changed my life. It's who I am now. It's made me be able to do this podcast, right? I wouldn't have known that at the age of, 14, 15, 16, whatever it was, 16. But yeah. And then, when she went to Bowling Green and became an athlete and was very busy, and I was 45 minutes to 50 minutes away, and I would go up there anytime I could. I was up there a lot. Matter of fact, I spoke in her eulogy, and I said, I went to Bowling Green more than most students. Got away with it for free. So yeah, spent a ton of time there. It actually, I think, built our relationship trust-wise, and now, granted, we had the ups and downs.
Sure.
I think we may have had a couple breakups, but it didn't last very long. Like, what am I doing? It's the best thing that's ever happened to me. But yeah, and then when I moved to Dayton, now it's pretty good jaunt. Hour and 45 minutes, 2 hours sometimes. Was, I think, a kind of a blessing that when I started with Frito-Lay, and most people do still, you always have weekdays off. I was off Tuesday, Wednesday on the route that I had gotten, and Monday when I got off work, straight up 75 to Bowling Green. And there would be multiple times where I would get up Thursday morning, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and then drive back to work, But yeah. And then on the weekends, when she was free, she was coming down. But yeah, we spent a lot of time together, although it was a long distance relationship. But the trust I had in her and she had in me, and it made it work.
And so you guys you knew. It sounds like obviously there were some ups and downs, but you recognize this is the woman that I'm going to marry.
100%. Yep.
It's pretty awesome.
I don't know when it was, but yeah. There's a story. I think it was her junior year there. It was my 21st birthday. It was December of whatever year that was. My 21st birthday, she hosted a little party at her apartment because I knew all of her roommates. Her one roommate, Amanda Iliano, we're still super close with. And her husband, Joe, me and him have got an incredible relationship. We go on a guys trip around Findlay baseball every year. So still super strong relationship with them. Mandy was the partier, Rhonda wasn't. Rhonda would go out, whatever, but she'd much rather just chill at home. So that's why we kind of had a little thing at the apartment. And Mandy's like, I'm going out. I'm going with you. So I go out with her, and no, I didn't go out with her. Rhonda told me, she didn't tell me no, but she told me that probably wouldn't be a great idea. Well, then Mandy had left, and then my like, all right, I'm going to jaunt uptown. I'm going to go find Mandy. So she had told me where she was going. So, you know, and I remember walking into the bar and she was sitting in the back and she just looked up and she's like, no, we're going home. I'm not feeling the wrath of Rhonda, you know? So on our walk back, we passed a Christmas tree farm. What better way to give Rhonda a Christmas tree? So I took one. And I'm carrying it back to the apartment, and it was a 3-story apartment where she lived in the basement. And I carried that thing down into the basement. And I mean, it's 2:00 in the morning. I'm like, look, honey, what I got you. And she just looked at me. She goes, get rid of it. It's you or the tree. So I take the tree back upstairs and I throw it in the backyard. And then I woke up the next morning to her vacuuming all the needles up.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
So then I think that's when I'm like, all right, it's time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I ended up asking her to marry me on her 21st birthday the next year in September.
Okay. That's awesome. I just wanted to kind of lay the groundwork because you glossed over that date, and you know, in my mind, I knew it was pretty powerful. So fast forward back to Rhonda's now teaching at Eaton, and she's coaching softball.
Yep.
And you've got young Theo as a baby.
Yep.
Talk about life and where you go from there.
Yeah, I remember sitting down with her and like, all right, listen, I don't want to be a single dad, because that's what I felt like during the season. I would go to games, but you know, you go to a game and it's an hour and a half before she gets home because bus got from Bellbrook back to Eaton, and she's 10:00 at night. And so I remember telling her, I said, we're moving to Eaton. We're moving to Lockengren, and I'm getting a boat. Took me 20 years to get a boat. Yeah, we moved to Eaton, and it's where we met the most powerful people in my life now, Chad and Mandy Tinsman. Kind of our first friendship. You know, Chad was a teacher in history, and then Mandy was the art teacher. And we just, you know, had a bond there. We did a lot of stuff together. We raised our kids together. You know, Reed and Theo. You know, it's Theo, class of 22, Reed 23, and then Gavin 25. And you'd think all three of them are brothers. You know. And then we grew up camping. Like, you know, 3 years later we have Gavin. And then, you know, it's the four of us. Like, we got the world by the neck, right? It's
Life's good.
Life's good. We're camping. We're going on vacation. We're going, like, just an incredible journey through life. And Rhonda's parents own a condo in Surfside Beach, which is just south of Myrtle Beach, and we would go there frequently. And we were there 1 year, and Rhonda's thing was margaritas. She loved them. And we went to Margaritaville one night, and we go, and why aren't you ordering a margarita? I just don't feel well. Stomach don't feel great. Okay, I'm going to have one, you know. And now I know this because it's over. On our way home, we stopped at Walgreens because her stomach hurt. Mm. And the next day, we go to the pool at the condo. Kids come back, we eat lunch, and they're all laying down, and I'm kind of laying down too. And she goes, hey, come here. And I walk back to the bathroom, and she shows me a pregnancy test. This is 8 years later after Gavin? I said, my first question was, how? She said, do I really need to explain that to you? But yeah, we laid in bed and just thought, what just happened? And of course, her like ability to stabilize us and like, this is going to be great. Promise me one thing. You'll never call her a mistake or make it a joke about, 8 years later. This was our plan. Like, we're good. So yeah, I don't think I talked for another 6 hours. But yeah, then we had Emra, which has been, fascinating. She's now 10, but Theo's 22 and she's 10, and They have a great relationship. Sometimes Emma thinks Theo's mean, Gavin's mean, but they'll always give her a hug. They'll always, play catch with her. Or, Gavin help her with her homework when I struggled to do math because the student thing. Right? But yeah, and then life really went sideways. It was February 13th, 2022. Most of you people think of that as the Bengals going to the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
In a typical Super Bowl Sunday, the kids were at home. Theo had his girlfriend over. We're just hanging out, right? I put some chicken wings in the smoker, and I remember taking them out, putting them in a container, because it's around 4:30, getting ready to eat before the game starts, and I was washing my hands, and I remember having a hood up, because it's probably chilly out or whatever, right? It's February. Had a hood up, and I was at the kitchen sink looking out over the water there in Lockengrin and washing my hands from all the junk on my hands, and I felt a hand go over my shoulder, and Rhonda said to me, "Brian's dead." And I said, "My dad?" She said, "Yeah." And I don't even remember the next 30 minutes to an hour. Like, I collapsed on the floor, like, no, like, what do you mean? So, kind of gather yourself, and I asked Rhonda to tell Allie to go home, and then we told the boys, and like, it just didn't make sense. Obviously, death doesn't, right?
Right.
But over the next couple months, I beat myself up because I always kept my dad at a distance. I didn't want him back in because he lied to me, right? You told me you'd do everything you could to keep our family together, and you didn't. I kept thinking of that, and thinking of that. And I'm like, and I beat myself up. Like, I had a rough 2 to 3 months. Like, now I'm asking the question, why was I that way? But then that quickly turned to one early April morning, when the routine was Rhonda got up first, got in the shower, she got out, I got up, got in the shower, and that day I walked out and she was just staring at her closet, which was somewhat abnormal, So I made the joke, can't find an outfit today, She turned around and told me, said, "I can't keep this from you anymore. I need you to feel something." And it was a lump in her breast. And she said, I can't keep this from you anymore because I have an appointment today and I need you to go. What kind of appointment? Well, we're to the biopsy phase already. I truly think she knew she obviously was going to doctors and had seen doctors, and I think she truly hid that from me because of what I was going through. She always seemed to put me first. But yeah, she's like, "I need you to drive me. We're going to get a biopsy." Okay. So I had tons of questions. So I called my boss, "Hey, not going to be in today." It was in Troy. So on the way there, I started to ask questions, and I'm thinking to myself, why am I asking these questions? Like, it's isn't fair to her. Because I want to know how far along are we on this stuff. But I kind of shut my mouth, and we went, and she had the biopsy, and as she came out, we drove home, and she's like, "I have cancer." Once again, why? How's this happening? Very quiet drive home. But okay, so we get a phone call. And obviously the girl did the biopsy. Didn't really say, you can't say you have cancer. It's, okay, here's what's next. So we got a call from Dr. Vosser's office on the way home and asked if we could come in, and we went in and we sat down with the nurse practitioner there. And she told us that it came back positive. It's breast cancer. So timing at maybe next couple days or so, we're going to go meet with an oncologist at Kettering Medical Center, Cancer Center. So we go in, sit down, and the anxiety and the nervousness of, okay, what do we have here? And the doctor came in and sat down. She had a blank piece of paper, and she literally wrote, all right, there's 3 steps to breast cancer, 3 different tentacles, I guess. I don't know. Try to forget the phrases.
Right.
And she said, the first one, you're negative. Second one, you're negative. The third one, you're negative. It's great, except for cancer. Triple negative metastatic breast cancer, the worst you can get. And she, laid out a path of what we're doing, and the whole, I don't even know what she said. I'm sure Rhonda didn't either. But we heard the one thing at the end. She says, this is curable. All right, strap on the boots, let's go. She laid out the path. It was 13 weeks of chemo, double mastectomy, radiation, because it had spread to her lymph nodes. And the goal was, during the first chemo portion, was to stop the growth of the tumors, stop the spread, and hopefully shrink them. Then we can do surgery. All that worked perfectly. She had surgery. And normally once you have something like that, it's like a 6-month period before you can go have another PET scan and find out if it's spread or anything like that. But one of the nurses there said there was a new type of way to figure this out faster, blood spinning, some crazy stuff, right? So we enrolled in it. I think it was 3 weeks after, the double mastectomy, and she was hoping to go back to work and all that good stuff. And she ended up going back to work like crazy. But she worked she worked all the way through chemo. And I think I told you, I've told many people, you would have never known she had cancer except for the fact she didn't have hair. And I think that helped our kids and me, right? We're tough as nails. We got this, when you write on that paper and it says it's curable, but it's a 30% chance of a 5-year survival rate. It didn't matter. We heard curable, acted tough. And I truly believe that helped our kids because they never really saw her suffer. Because she was, every night it was once they go to bed, it's, I can finally let my guard down and relax. But, and the one thing we promised each other during that whole cancer, treatment and the surgeries and all that stuff, we were honest with the kids, told them, here's what's next. Here are the side effects. Here are how mom's going to feel when she's done. The losing of the toenails, the losing of the hair, the change in color of your, your skin, but we always told them we're fighting. And you look back at this now, and not one of the kids ever asked, "Is she going to be okay?" They knew she was going to be okay. So the surgery comes back. Her first test came back with cancer has spread. All right, back to the doctor. It spread to the liver. We didn't get the curable thing. But the doctor left the room, and we just sat there because she gave us 2 options. We can give you some more chemo. It's old. It's out of date. That's why we started with these things. But we can try that, or we can try a clinical trial at Ohio State. So we talked about it, and you think about it now. Did we choose wrong? Should we have went with the old stuff and prolonged her life to where maybe a new clinical trial would have come along? So again, post her passing, that regret, grief, set in. But we decided to go on with the clinical trial. So we go and sign your life away, right? As a matter of fact, when we get there, we sat with the doctor, and he's like, yeah, there's no cure for this. Like, your doctor in Kettering said, yes, you can do the old school medicine, may prolong you for a little while, but we also have these 2 clinical trials. And the one he was on the board of, so kind of trusted that, all right, you're really going to work hard for this. So we did that one. She got her first treatment, and the treatment was over an 8-hour span. They just gave you a little bit of drugs, and every time they had to wait to see if a side effect would kick in. And with this drug, there was, I think, 10 or 12 different syringes there, and they were all geared towards counteracting a side effect. So obviously, the longer you can take the drug, you get into hour 5 and 6, it's working. No side effects. That last dosage, she went in, they gave it to her. She got unhooked. We were leaving, and then her body shut down. Like, it was shaking, freezing, a side effect. They come rushing back in and start pumping her with the one syringe.
Yeah.
Got to calm down. Everything was good. Even the doctor then said, it's great that you made it all the way through. So it was an 8-hour day. Come back in 3 weeks. So we came back in 3 weeks, and every time you go get any kind of treatment, they check your blood and all that good stuff. And her blood levels were through the roof. And part of the trial was, this drug is either going to destroy the cancer in your liver or it's going to accelerate it. So accelerated it. And that next treatment, we couldn't get it because the doctor said, if I give you this, you will die today. So we've had some trials in this that they skyrocket, but then come back down. So we'll see you back in 3 weeks. That 3 weeks was hell. And that drive home that day was the first time that Rhonda, I think, felt defeated. Like, this isn't going to work. So we're driving back from Columbus, and she says to me, I don't need you to talk. I'm going to tell you what we're going to do next. And it was, we're getting our finances in line. We're getting our living will updated, like the hard conversations. I'm trying to drive on 70, like, I can't see. I'm not sure how we got back. It seemed like that drive was 5 hours. But she just said, just hammering. She had a notepad. This is what we're doing. And then it's the teacher in her, right? This is the assignment. And then at the end, she said, there's 2 things I need you to do. Is make Gavin's senior year and graduation amazing, and make sure Emma knows that I'm her mom. And that's when really, this is happening. So we had stints to the ER due to severe back pain because the cancer was really just blowing her liver up. She had gained weight. Rhonda was always very thin, and she couldn't get pants buttoned. She was just in denial of it, like so much so that she was going to the first day of school. Like, she was going to orientation. Or not orientation. What is that? The parent open house. Open house. It was a Tuesday, and I remember that Monday night, she was in severe pain. Kids didn't know it. Theo's off to school in college at Findlay, and Gavin's, just a junior, living life. And then Emra's 8 years old, playing and has no worry in the world and all that good stuff. And it was that Monday night. She had taken a nap, and she woke up, and it's the first time that I saw her, and I thought, she's yellow, Like I could tell something wasn't right. So I do the dumb thing of on Google, what's the final stages of cancer? And she had all of them. And Monday night I didn't sleep. Went to work the next day, and I called her. She didn't answer. It's about 8 o'clock. She should be up. She didn't answer. Now I'm all the way over in Enon, Ohio, which is about 45 minutes from home, an hour, and she's not answering. And then I thought to myself, she's dead. In bed. She normally, when I got up for bed, she would always move, have a good day, nothing. She was asleep. And I had a severe panic attack, anxiety, like, how do I get home? I was frozen in a parking lot of an account. Like, Gavin or Emma are going to find her. I don't remember how I got home. I remember pulling off the side of the road a couple times just to gather myself, and I pulled into the parking lot of Walmart in Eaton. And crazy, I often pull back into that parking spot. I know exactly which one it is. When you're going through cancer, you have a tremendous supporting group. Like, family have been amazing. Like, friends. Chad, to this day, I tell Chad and Mandy all the time, and I know they appreciate it, and I know they realize it, but, like, I don't know where I would be without them. But, like, I didn't want help. We had this, we got this, and I remember calling my sister and telling her my wife was dying. Like, I need help. And she's like, you need to call Sherry. And that's Rhonda's mom, who is an angel on earth. Like, I could call her right now and say, hey, I need you to go pick up Amber from school, and she would drop everything she does and go do it. So I called her and I said, I need you. I need you here. She goes, I'm on my way. So I get home. I walk into the living room of her, fully dressed for orientation or open house, showered, ready to go open house. Arguing with Gavin over him not signing up for CCP classes in time. So it's, okay, we're here. So I'm pacing around the house because they're still butting heads about, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? And Gavin's completely numb of it. Like, oh no, So Gavin then storms off. They get him signed up, storms off back to the bedroom, and he gets ready for football practice. And I remember Rhonda saying to me, she said, why are you home and why'd you call my mom? And that's when I told her I'm scared. Like, I can't do this anymore. I need help. And she goes, I'm scared too. I said, so we're both in agreement, so we're not going to open house? She said, no. So it took some convincing for her not to go. But she's like, yeah, I don't. And that's when I wouldn't say she gave up, but I think that's when it's it. She wouldn't change her clothes, laid on the couch, I think slept most of the day. I got up, took the kids to open house. I was Wednesday, Thursday kind of went by, and we're just struggling to get through those days. And that weekend, we called the family. Why don't we all just have a cookout, bring everybody back here? And at that time, Ron was pretty weak. Wasn't really eating much. That Friday, scoot back. That Friday, we had went to Ohio State to do a scan of her liver just to see the progression, and we did that. And she had that appointment, and then like at 3:00 in the afternoon, we met with the doctor about the scan, and she was like couldn't sit, constantly moving, just the pain, and she was not one for medicine. So it was a very painful day for us. I remember we went to tried to eat lunch at Panera Bread, And we get our food, and we sit down, and she's like, I can't sit here. So she goes back to the car, and I'm just sitting there with 2 meals. And then she texts me, she goes, we need to go to the ER. So that food is still at Panera Bread, as far as I know. So we call she goes, well, let me call the doctor first. So she calls the doctor. Yep, just come straight here. And we went in, got in with the doctor, and he said the liver scan came back. I think it's time to prepare for the worst. And then still, when I just say that out loud, I'm like, just doesn't. I'm numb. And Rhonda said, how long do I have? And he said, month, week, maybe days. And we went from that room to her succumbing to morphine. So they gave her morphine to go home with. We drove home, and she was asleep the whole way. Once another, can't see straight, drive home. Eyes just trying to figure out, what the heck am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? It was all about what was I going to do? And, in hindsight, thinking, how selfish is that? So we get home. She goes to the bedroom. I get her in the bedroom. She falls asleep. And that's when, let's have the family for the weekend. Because we were going home because there was no beds available at the James for any patients, because he was sending her to the ER just for comfort care. And there's no beds. So she's like, okay, we can wait around here for a bed, but no, I'm going to go home. Theo was coming home from college. Let's have a weekend with the family. So family comes in, and she was so out of it. I was giving her, every 4 hours, 6 hours, or whatever is the morphine. And I remember Emma asking me, what's wrong with Mom? She's super tired. This last treatment, really took a toll on her, because it was true. I felt good about that. And the boys, once again, never ask questions, And I always, you don't want to lie to them, but you want to be transparent and, all that good stuff. And it was the first time I kind of skirted the story because Rhonda's mom had said, where's her medicine? It's time. And she's looking at the bottle. She goes, do you cut these pills in half? I said, no, just give her one. Well, it says here on the label, you're supposed to cut them in half. So I'm pumping her full of 20 milligrams of morphine when she's supposed to be getting 10. So then that was my story. I could tell the kids, Dad's trying to drug Mom, tried to make light of it. And well, that weekend, good weekend. She obviously didn't do much, didn't eat much, but so much family around, it felt good. And we were going to the doctor Monday morning to get us into the hospital here in Kettering. That Sunday night, my selfish self again, all night long, just get to tomorrow. Don't let this happen tonight. Don't let this happen tonight. And we were in bed. We were on the couch. We were in the recliner. She was on my side of the bed, she couldn't get comfortable. And we managed to fall asleep 3 or 4 o'clock, and she mumbled something. I have no idea what she said, but I took it as I love you. And it's really the last time we spoke. So it's Monday morning, Sherry and me are helping her to the car because she can hardly walk, get her to the hospital. And we were going to the hospital because we met with the oncologist, and she's like, okay, let's get you in the hospital. Let's go in to see if we can do something with the liver to, open up the biles to release some of that, just to release some pressure. So that was the next thing we were doing. So I was able to tell the kids we're going to have a procedure on the liver, and explained it to them. Okay, cool. Well, that was Tuesday, and they couldn't do it. The biles the ducts in our liver were completely closed with cancer. Literally didn't have a liver left. It was all cancer. So then turned to, okay, I got to face this with the kids. Called my brother-in-law, Bob, who's a superintendent up in Defiance, and his wife's Rhonda's sister. I need you to go get Theo from college. I need you and Melissa to be here at the hospital. Okay. I'll take care of it. Give me Coach Palm, his baseball coach's number. I'll call him. We'll get Theo. We'll be there in 2 hours. And I'm just sitting by the bed, holding Rhonda's hand, and phone rings. It's Theo. Crap. Step out. What's going on, Dad? And it's the first time that I'm like, okay. Mom just came out of surgery. I need you here. Don't ask questions. Just get here. In case something were to go wrong, I want you to be here. I don't want you to ever be away from college when this happens. Okay? He gets there. We last that day. It's Wednesday morning. I was kind of going back and forth to the house, getting the kids, because at this point the kids are, Gavin and Emma are in school. So it's get them to school, go to the hospital. A family member would be back to get them off the bus. I would come home late at night because Sherry was not leaving her side. Sherry told the story that she literally drove herself to the hospital and gave birth to Rhonda by herself. So not leaving her ever. Going to see her in this world, going to see her out of it. So she stayed at the hospital. I did the taxi back and forth, and it was Wednesday. It was during school. Theo, I need to go get my phone charger. I'll walk out there with you. Walk out. We're in the parking garage. We grabbed and still, no questions. Just, we're going to go home soon. Mom's going to be fine. And walking back into the hospital, he says, all right, Dad, what's next? And I said, Mom's not going to make it. And I had to catch him. And we walk back to the car. He sits in the passenger seat and puts his head up on the dash and just crying, just rubbing his back. What can I do here? Except I don't say anything, just comfort him. And which seemed like 4 hours. He says, my God, turn on the air conditioner. I am sweating. So, that's Dad's wittiness coming out of him. And so I turned on the air conditioner, and it was instant. All right, how are we telling the other two? He flipped a switch, and it was like caretaker for Dad. And that's his mom and him to this day. I think I told you, since Mom passed away, I have talked to him on the phone every single day. Not a text, not a Snapchat, it's been a phone call. And it's what I look forward to every day, And there's been times where it's been 10 o'clock at night, and he's like, hey, sorry I didn't get the call. I'm like, I'm good. Good night. But it's been that phone call every single day. Never missed a day. But yeah, he turned into, okay, time to go help. He went in the hospital room, gave her a hug, kiss, told her he loved her. And it's like, what's next? Let's go. So we played at home that Friday night. Gavin's junior year versus Talawanda. We're still in the hospital. Well, that Friday after school, we sent Emra off to my sister's in Lima, because every summer she would have Camp Christie's, go swim with her cousin who's the same age. Just kind of whether it was a full week or an extended weekend. So it was an easy way to, okay, it's time to go. So first week of school, get out of school, because of Labor Day weekend, she goes up to my sister's for an extended weekend. So, okay, that's taken care of. So now it's Gavin next. So we leave the hospital, go to the football game. Matter of fact, I wasn't going to go. Theo, you go. I already had coverage for the cameras. I wasn't doing it. I'm just going to stay here. And Sherry's like, no, go to the game. And since I've been on the sideline, as you are now, Ben, but and I hope you get to enjoy this. When Theo was a freshman, we were at Greenville, and just on the sideline for the first time ever. They run out, jump on each other, Theo comes beeline, gives me a hug every Friday night for 4 years. Theo senior year, Gavin becomes a freshman. Both of them come give me a hug. Gavin stepped on my foot, but but every Friday night I got a hug from my boy before the game started. I would give him a message, be great, love you, play with hair on fire. Always try to give him something. So that Friday night, he came over and gave him a hug, and I told him Mom loves him. Couldn't even tell you if we won or not. Just felt numb. It felt like, because the word had gotten back to the community. She wasn't doing well, obviously not in school. She's in the hospital. And with me and Theo on the sideline, it felt like every single person in that building was staring at us. I feel sorry for them. I wonder what, and no one wanted to ask, how's Rhonda? So we go back home. Gavin gets home Friday night after the game. We talk about the game a little bit. And that next morning, I said to Theo, I'm like, when do we tell Gav? I'm asking him. So we can't do it tonight. Adrenaline from a football game, you can't do that to them mentally. And I wanted to. So next morning, get up, send Coach Davis a text. Hey, Gavin's not going to be at film today. We're going to take time with the family. Absolutely, no problem. So Gavin gets up. Another thing we did was always fed the boys before they went off. So I made them breakfast and then told him that he wasn't going to film. He didn't even ask why. He knew. Didn't ask why. He goes, okay. And I had to tell him, Mom's not going to make it. And he breaks down. Me and Theo are, arms over him, and he starts to ask why. Why? What? No, why? And I don't have that answer. But he got himself together. We all three went to the hospital, spent, that Saturday morning. We also decided it's time to go to hospice. So we moved to hospice that Saturday, tons of family around, and we spent that whole day at hospice. And on Thursday, the living will came into effect when the nurse said there's nothing else we can do. Can't really keep her comfort. You kind of have to decide here. So it was pull everything. So she's on day 4 of no water, no IV, no food, but the heart just pumping strong. So we moved to hospice. It's a full day. And Sherry's like, go home with the kids, the boys. Take them back to the house. I'll stay here overnight. And I remember we all 3 slept in the living room. Nobody asked each other. I pull up the recliner. We have a bigger chair. Theo fell asleep in. Gavin's on the couch. We all knew we wanted to be around each other. I just waited for the phone call and waited and waited. Fall asleep. You wake up the next morning and look at my phone. I'm like, what? So, boys, you guys want to go back to hospice? No, we're going to stay home. The 2 of them just stayed home. So I went back, and it's an all-day thing again. And multiple times, I'm like, trying to figure out what she's holding on to. I told her multiple times, we all did, it's okay. You can go. I got this. Matter of fact, that Sunday, she's a huge Dave Matthews fan, and we played Dave Matthews all day long on her phone right next to her head just to kind of give her some peace. And because it got to Sunday night, and it's time for me to leave again. What is going on? What are you holding on to? Well, that Sunday, my sister had brought Emma back home. So when I got back home late that night, she was there. The both boys, Rhonda's sister Stephanie, had brought me back to the house. We all did the slumber party again in the living room. Because I think I may have said something like, hey, Emma, why don't you go get your mattress? We all slept out here last night. Oh, slumber, what? But we're going to get him to go see Mom tomorrow morning, right? Yep, we are, because we were. We have this big slumber party, and I'd fallen asleep quick. And I woke up to Theo saying, Dad, what? Call Grandma Sherry. I knew what the phone call was about. So I go in, I take the phone call, and she tells me she had passed away. 9:45, 10 o'clock at night. And what are you doing, Sherry? I'll come get you. Like, she goes, no, I'm going to drive home. Sure. Like, let me come get you. I'll take you to Lima. Like, you don't need to be driving home in this. She's like, no, I'm okay. You know, got to spend some really good quality time with her. Like, I'm okay. Because we knew it. Like, it's just a matter of time. But she drives home, and I get off the phone, and I walk out, and boys catch me. Just me and I remember Gavin or Theo literally catching me as I'm falling and saying, you're going to wake Emma up. So caring for Dad.
Yeah.
So we go back into Gavin's room, and just kind of the three of us was quiet, talked. I gotten text, so sorry, from Melissa and Stephanie and Bob and Dana and the whole family, and it's kind of, I think it was 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, okay, let's go get some rest. Got a long road ahead of us. So we go back to the living room, and the next morning, Theo's first question to me, how are we telling Emma? I don't know. What are you telling an 8-year-old? So she slept in. About 9 o'clock, I pull her into the kitchen and pick her up on the bar, and she's like, what are you doing? And I said, Mom didn't make it. She passed away last night. The cancer got her. And she kind of wrinkled her eyes and said, verbatim, do I get her phone? Just an 8-year-old. Mm-hmm. Worried about them. Like, do I get her phone? And as a parent, she has no idea. Still to this, she's 10. Like, she's still, although our relationship is tremendous, we have great, she still doesn't know the battle ahead that she has, which is great. Like, continue to be 10. So look forward to doing that BeTempered podcast in 20 years. But yeah. And then we just started to figure it out, Yeah, the funeral. And I feel terrible for not remembering who told me this. But, you talk about these things to family and stuff, and they're like, well, she waited until all 4 of you were together. And yeah, she knew Emma was home. She literally passed away an hour and 30 minutes after Emma had gotten home, which gave her time to put stuff away, get her bed out there, and all of us to lay down. So, funeral, everything went phenomenal. It's everything she wanted, that she told me she wanted, We have she wanted to be cremated. We had, a party afterwards. Like, literally, we're out at the fairgrounds, and she wanted cake and Dave Matthews. So the community came together, and we had tons of food, and it was awesome. We had a cake. We played Dave Matthews and celebrated. And then Monday comes along, and Theo has to go back to college. Kids, I think it was Monday night, because Theo had class on Tuesday, so he had went home Monday night. And I didn't send the kids to school on Tuesday. And then Wednesday morning, we're sitting, Emma was on her swing in the front yard, and me and Gavin are sitting there, and he said, I want to play this Friday. Okay. I don't know the rules. I'm going to send hopefully don't get anybody in trouble. Coach Davis and Mr. Couch a message. Hey, Gavin wants to play this Friday. What do we need to do to get him in school? He's like, just come to practice. I want to play this Friday. I want to go to practice, and I want to wear number 8, which was Rhonda's number in college. So Wyatt Sasser, player on the team, had number 8, and he instantly gave it up. So he's number 8. He goes to practice. He played that Friday night. It was the day of the service. So, service, we had the celebration, and the entire family goes to Oakwood. And he didn't start, which of course makes me mad as a parent. What are you talking about? He's not. I remember on the first play, they threw, I think it was a halfback pass, and the corner that was playing in front of him got burnt. Later on in the game, they ran the same play when Gavin was out there, and he timed it perfectly and tipped it away. Like, okay, somebody's helping him there. So yeah, we move on. I took 8 weeks off of work, just trying to wrap my head around, what's next, and always try to be transparent with the kids and tell them, this is what I'm doing. They've always been involved with what I think's right, what we're doing right, and then that's when things, like, it's the what just happened to me, the denial, the grief was unbearable. And Pastor Dan at the Community Church has walked me through to literally. I met with him yesterday just to get some strength to come here today. But he's I've sat down and talked with him to help me with things, and I went through a 13-week grief class with him, and just trying to didn't need to know why, because no one does. It's cancer, right? So, we come to, I think it was about a month ago. I was really struggling because I knew the 2-year anniversary was coming up. The first one obviously is numbing, and the kids are doing great. And about a month ago, I remember driving home from work ready to quit life. Never at any point that I was going to hurt myself, because I knew what I had to do for my kids, but I was done, exhausted, wanting to, I'm done. Didn't want to be here anymore. Thought about what it would be without me, and I leaned on the Tinsmans again. Kind of talked to them a little bit, and I'm here for you, like always. Everyone's there for you, right? But as men, we don't need them. So I strapped my boots back on again, and then that whole leading up to last Friday was, okay, I need to do something. August 27th, I started to walk every day, try to hold myself accountable by sending my boys a picture, hey, out walking, just trying to get things going in the right direction again. Which really led me to falling upon Jeff's Facebook post, and I'm here. So try and still find that purpose. So yeah, that's the...
Man, first off, thank you for sharing that. It's hard for me to sit here and not break down, because it's such a touching story. And again, we go back to, putting ourselves in other people's shoes. And so the whole time you're telling the story, and I just heard it on Friday, I'm thinking about, what if that's my wife? How do I have that conversation with my kids? What does that look like after? And you're on the right path, man. You're doing all the right things.
And what I would say to that is have those difficult conversations with your spouse. Like, what if?
Yeah. What do you think, Ben?
I mean, I'm excuse me, right there with you. When you named the dating anniversary, mine was April 14, 2004. And as soon as you said yours, I'm just sitting there like, that's Lisa and I. I mean, we were 14, 15 when we first started dating, and putting myself in that situation. I don't know. I first met you, what was it? Was it last year, I guess?
Yep.
And, I kind of knew the story of Rhonda and everything, but one thing that I admire about you is I've seen, last year, senior year, every single game. Gavin coming up, give you a hug, I see Theo come out on the field with you every single one of those games, stand right next to you. Even not your kids, Johnny coming up to you every time, giving you a big hug, and then, also seeing you coach Emra and seeing like your relationship with them, like your purpose. I mean, I see a lot of myself in you. Like I believe you're a servant, like leader, man. Like you're a volunteer. Like, I don't know. I feel blessed to know you. Like last year on the sideline, it was one of my favorite times. Like just being able to know you and, then to hear your story today, just, man, you're a great man. I mean, never forget that. Just put myself in your shoes. I just can't imagine how strong you are. Obviously how strong Rhonda was, and seeing, obviously a lot of Rhonda and Theo, it sounds like. Yeah. Just amazing, man. And I know how hard it was to be vulnerable and like tell the whole story, but it's going to help a lot of people. Like, so. We talk about how hard it is to talk as men and not being, we don't need help. And maybe sometimes it's not about needing help. Just sometimes it's about getting it off our chest and letting other people know, like, you're not alone. Like, we're battling. Everybody's battling something. It's just powerful. I can't thank you enough, Chuck.
Thanks. And that is getting it off your chest. And, I'd have those, sit downs with Pastor Dan, and would always leave them feeling hopeful. And leaving Friday with you feeling hopeful, and it was Matt Roberts' episode, Dr. Roberts, and he said, come on here and talk about the way I want to live my life, and I hold you accountable. So I have tried the weight loss journey, tried the mental health journey, and I've always quit it. And I don't want to anymore. I want to, stick with it. I don't want Theo or Gavin to say, yeah, right, Dad. I'm done hearing that. I want to find my purpose, and this podcast is going to help me. It's going to help my kids. Hopefully it helps my family. Like I just said, last weekend, my mom was around, and I can still see that she walks around on eggshells around me. What not to say, what to say, not sure what to say. People don't want to talk about it. It's okay to. So if you see me in the community, it's okay. Because we're ultimately going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to be starting something coming up. If we're going to talk about accountability.
I think that's your accountability. I don't know about mine.
No, I just planted the seed.
You did.
Yeah.
You did. I'm still looking for that 75 easy, though.
You're not going to find it. You've been doing that your whole life.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. All right, Chuck. Last question. If you could sit on a park bench and have a conversation with someone living or deceased, who would it be and why?
I knew this question was coming. Can I have two?
Sure.
It would be my dad, to tell him I'm sorry and give him a hug. And then obviously Rhonda, to touch her one last time. I want her to give me another notepad of things to do. Yeah.
Powerful. There's nothing else to say. I thank you again for coming on. I know, everybody in the community knows you and sees you, and I feel a special connection to you. And I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm excited to watch you on your 75 hard journey when you start it here in a couple of weeks. It's out there. Now you're accountable. Theo, Gavin, Emra, make sure you hold them accountable, because I'm going to. But, I know this was difficult for you to share, but man, I'll tell you what, there's not many podcasts that we've done. What was this, 75? It's really been challenging for me to hold it back. That's how powerful it is. So I know that there's someone out there who is maybe in the middle of what you've went through, or maybe something else, but they can latch on to something that you've said. And I think the most important thing throughout this whole thing is what you recognized a month ago, is that you were in a hole, emotionally, physically. But then things started to happen, and then you start to notice things. When we talked on Friday, you talked about after her passing, you went on vacation. And what did you see when you walked down to go out to the beach? What did you see?
Which I hated the beach.
Yeah,
Rhonda loved it. Yeah, the first day we walked out onto the beach, there was a cardinal on the privacy fence that was separating the two, chirping.
And you noticed that?
I did.
Yeah. I think as you progress, and as you're never going to forget. That's not anything that's ever going to go away. But as you get a little stronger mentally and physically and hopefully spiritually, all those things, you're going to notice those cardinals every day. You're going to notice those little things, and it may just be just a simple conversation, just by coming up and talking to Ben and I, and just say, "Hey, thanks for what you did, for putting the podcast out, and I heard it today. Yeah. Thanks to Sean Rubush for writing the book." Yep. All those little things that you're just going to start to notice. And as you grow and as you get a little stronger, it's going to be more and more and more. And then you're going to look back and you're going to think, man, that was a tough time, but I had to go through that to get to where I'm at now. So thank you again. Yeah. All right, everybody. Like, share, do all those things. Somebody needs to hear Chuck's story. If you see him in the community, give him a hug. Give the boys a hug. Give Emra a hug. I can't wait to watch Emra on the basketball court here this winter. She's a little spitfire.
It's awesome to watch.
And go out and be tempered.
Hi, my name is Allie Schmidt. This is my dad, Dan. He owns Caitlin's Glass.
Thanks, Allie. Things like doors and windows go into making a house. But when it's your home, you expect more, like the great service and selection you'll get from Caitlin's Glass. Vinyl replacement windows from Caitlin's come with a lifetime warranty, including accidental glass breakage replacement. Also ask for custom shower doors and many other products and services. Call 962-1636. Locally owned with local employees for nearly 30 years.
Caitlin's Glass, the clear choice.
I want to share something that's become a big part of the BeTempered mission, Patreon. Now, if you've never used it before, Patreon is a platform where we can build community together. It's not just about supporting the podcast. It's about having a space where we can connect on a deeper level, encourage one another, and walk this journey of faith, resilience, and perseverance side by side. Here's how it works. You can join as a free member and get access to daily posts, behind-the-scenes updates, encouragement, and some things I don't always put out on other platforms. And if you feel called to support the mission financially, there are different levels where you can do that too. That support helps us keep producing the podcast, creating gear, hosting events, and sharing stories that we believe can truly impact lives. And here's the cool part. Patreon has a free app you can download right on your phone. It works just like Facebook or Instagram, but it's built specifically for our community. You'll be able to scroll through posts, watch videos, listen to content, and interact with others who are on the same journey. At the end of the day, this isn't just about content, it's about connection. It's about building something together, not just me and Ben putting out episodes, but a family of people committed to growing stronger through real stories and real faith. So whether you just want to hop on as a free member or you feel called to support in a bigger way, Patreon is the door into that community. Because at the heart of BeTempered has always been simple, real stories, raw truth, resilient faith, so that even one person out there that hears what they need to hear, and Patreon helps make that possible.